So we're starting the session on the third noble truth. The third noble truth is in early Buddhism called Nibbana, which is Pali. In Sanskrit, it's called Nirvana. Or the third noble truth is the end of karma, which is the end of constant dissatisfaction, in your heart. Yeah. So this is the end of seeking happiness, because it is when you truly understand what is happiness. So another way to look at the third noble truth besides nirvana or end of karma is this: cessation of sensual pleasures, meaning not craving for distractions anymore. So second noble truth is remember this three, right? Craving for sensual pleasures, craving to become, craving not to become. So the third noble truth would be the opposite of it: not craving for distractions anymore. Sensual pleasures are distractions. We use sensual pleasures to stimulate sense bases in order to feel alive. So now that the person has realized that there is aliveness without stimulating the sense bases, so therefore there's no more craving for sensual pleasures. And cessation of wanting to become. Also this person who has understood what is letting go, allowing, surrendering, whatever you call it, no longer craves for continued existence. So this does not mean that this person wants to die or wants suicide, but this person is accepting of death when it comes. So this person who no longer craves for continued existence also doesn't crave for the end of existence. So this person is just naturally living the life out. When the time comes, they don't crave for continued existence, and when the time is not here, they also don't crave to end it quickly. Because they're comfortable, because they understand what is happiness, which is not to do with the body anymore. Whether there's a body, no body, there's just contentment. So there's a question from layman to a female arahant. So this is from Majjhima Nikaya number 44. So the layman's name is Visakha. The female arahant's name is Dhammadina. A bit of their background: they were husband and wife. When Visakha became a disciple of the Buddha, he realized the mind of a non-returner, which means what? He no longer has craving for sensual pleasures, nor does he have any more ill will. So Dhammadina was very sad, because in effect she lost her husband, even though he was still a layman. So she decided to be a disciple of the Buddha too. And then guess what? She attained, or she realized, a higher state of mind, which is the arahant. And so she became a monastic, became a nun, and eventually the teacher of Visakha. So Visakha asked Dhammadina, "Ma'am, they speak of this thing called the cessation of substantial reality." So substantial reality simply means that what we see, feel, touch, smell, hear around us, we take it as real. So then he asked her, what is the cessation of this substantial reality that the Buddha spoke of? Then she said, it's the fading away and cessation of that very same craving, with nothing left over, giving it away, letting it go, releasing it, and not clinging to it. The Buddha said that this is the cessation of substantial reality. So you have many synonyms here for letting go: giving it away, release, not clinging. When there is the non-clinging in your heart, you realize that whatever you see, touch around you is real to the sixth sense base, but they're not ultimate reality. Then he asked, but ma'am, is that grasping, let me change to the grasping word to craving, is that craving the exact same thing as the 5 grasping aggregates? So when you think of grasping aggregate, you think of contraction, right? Like you think of the body contracting, feeling contracting, thoughts contracting. Okay, so he's asking, is that craving the same thing as all these 5 aggregates contracting themselves? Okay, so another way to explain this is, when you want something and you cannot get it, then like, oh, you want that very unattainable gift, okay, whatever, or unattainable goal you have, okay, it doesn't have to be a material thing, it can be an idea, okay? And then you it's unattainable, so you feel, oh, I really want that, I really want to be a good person, why am I such a failure? Or I really want that expensive Rolex, why can't I afford it? When you say such thing, what do you feel in your body? You actually feel a tug, a contraction in your heart, right? You feel like your feelings contracting, your body contracting, like, why can't I get it? It's a subtle sense of stress. Stress is actually contraction in your 5 aggregates. Okay? So now you understand what is grasping aggregates, right? It's a contraction of your 5 aggregates. Your body, your feeling, your thoughts, this is consciousness, sense consciousness. It's contracting because it cannot get what it wants, so that's stress. Then she said that craving is not the exact same thing as the 5 contracting aggregates, nor is craving one thing and the 5 contracting aggregates another. So if we talk about where craving comes from, is the mind that craves. So now I use the word mind, as in the word spirit, okay? Mind is like consciousness is spirit. But consciousness also got 6 sense base, so it's very confusing. So now she said that that craving from the mind, spirit, is not exactly the same thing as the 5 sense base, that the 5 aggregates, which is of the sense base, that contracts. She says it's not exactly the same. So spirit and the body is not exactly the same. But then later she said, nor is craving one thing. That means it is not that spirit is one thing and the 5 grasping contracting aggregates, which is your sense base, another. And then you're like, they're not the same, but they're also not exactly one thing and another. So it sounds as if that they're not the same, but they have been interlocked together. Just like you interlock your fingers, your 2 hands interlock together, right? Like the left hand is the spirit consciousness or mind, and the right hand is the body sense-based consciousness. It's been locked together, and they're not exactly the same, nor are they one thing and the other. That means when they're interlocked together, one affects the other. Okay? Get it? So whatever is experienced in the sense base influences the spirit. Whatever that is in the spirit, whatever karmic thing, it also influences the body. Right? So they are the same, but they're not the same. This is very confusing, right? So that's the best way I can describe it. Then she said, the desire and greed for the 5 grasping aggregates is the grasping there. Desire and greed. So it's like the spirit, mind is confused. Well, let me clarify this. Spirit is not permanent soul. Okay, there's a difference. So spirit here, okay, seems to be ignorant of itself and thinks it's the body, and so the desire and greed for the 5 for the 6 sense base is where the 5 is the cause, or is where the 5 contracting aggregates are. So this is very, very confusing. If you don't understand this light, is totally fine. Okay, it's totally fine. You don't need to understand this light. Okay, and yeah, and I understand this light as the way I've explained it to you. I may not be 100% correct as well, all right, but this is my understanding. So Teku Uryen Rinpoche was a great meditation master of the Tibetan Buddhist Gakyu school, and I admire him very much. So why do I have this slide right after the previous one? Listen, the difference between Buddhas and sentient beings, okay, is like the difference between the narrowness and the openness of space. So, sentient beings are like the space held within a tightly closed fist, while Buddhas are fully open, all-encompassing. So, to be honest, all of us have Buddha nature. Even in the Theravada tradition, Ajahn Chah said so himself. He once thought of disrobing to go out into the world because he thought to himself, wow, I have not experienced any sense pleasure. Even the Buddha did. Maybe I should go out, experience the world, and come back to be a monk again. And then later he thought, no. This Buddha may not be the same as the last Buddha, Sakyamuni Buddha. This Buddha may not even realize the truth of itself. So you see, okay, so everyone has Buddha nature. So when he said the difference between Buddhas and sentient beings, he really means those who have realized their nature and those who have not realized their nature. So it's like the difference between the narrowness and the openness of space. So sentient beings are like space held within a tightly closed fist. So this is saying, right, that when you realize your Buddha nature, the Buddha nature consciousness is like space. There is nothing concrete. That's why it's called emptiness. But it's not like there's nothing, because the Buddha said, he talked about not self, okay? Not self, non-self, but there is something there, right? So the Buddha nature is like space. Can you use your hand and grab onto space? No. You cannot grab anything in space, right? But the sentient being who has not realized their Buddha nature is trying to use their mind to grab onto whatever is tangible. Okay? That's why he said sentient beings are like space. Actually, sentient beings are space because all of us are Buddha nature, held within a tightly closed fist. It's like we are using the body, okay, and clinging onto the body. When there's a clinging onto the body, there's contraction. That's why it's tightly closed fist. This, he's actually talking about the 5 aggregates, which is body base, 6 sense bases. Okay, so the difference is the Buddha no longer tightly hold or cling onto the 5 aggregates, to the 6 sense bases, to stimulate itself, to feel that it's still alive. Okay, anyone who realized the Buddha nature realized that space itself is alive. It's all-encompassing and alive. And there's nothing to grasp. Again, this is very difficult to understand. You don't need to understand this if you don't understand. Okay, so this is a very famous Pali Sutta where the Buddha spoke of the unconditioned. Okay, so in the first Noble Truth, we talk about condition. Okay, our ideas are conditioned. Okay, our concept, our reality is a conditioned concept. So when you are able to let go of that mental formation, ungrasping your ideas, feelings, opening up sense base, with open awareness, then you open up to the unconditioned. Okay, so this is the Udana Sutta, very well known. So I have heard. Okay, so this is supposed to be uttered by Ananda, who remembers all the discourse of the Buddha. Ananda said, at one time the Buddha was staying near Savatthi in Jeta's Grove, Ananda Pindika's monastery. So Ananta Pindika is a very well-known layman, very wise, okay, who supported the Buddha and created Jeta's Grove for the Buddha in Savatthi in Kosala. Now, at that time, the Buddha was educating, encouraging, firing up, and inspiring the mendicants, monks, or his disciples, his community of monks, with a Dhamma talk about extinguishment. Extinguishment means dying before you die. What is dying before you die? Allow the conceptual ego to die before the actual death. It's called extinguishment. And those monks were paying attention, applying their mind, concentrating wholeheartedly and actively listening. So you see, for you to learn the Dharma, if you have a teacher, these are the qualities you need to apply. Not a scattered mind, not a distracted mind that goes all over the place. You need to pay attention to what your teacher says. Apply the mind. Apply means what? Discern. Okay, discern what the teacher is saying to your own experience. Concentrate. Don't think of other things. Don't sidetrack. And actively listen. Okay? Actively listen, not distracted listening. Then, understanding this matter, on that occasion, the Buddha expressed this heartfelt sentiment. He said, heartfelt sentiment meaning he really is expressing it through his heart. Okay? You know, truth can only be expressed through the heart. You really feel it. It's not really through the brain, the intellect. Intellect is concept. Intellect cannot be telling the truth without the heart. That's why it's a heartfelt sentiment. You can really feel that he's expressing the truth. The Buddha said there is mendicants, monks, and unborn, unproduced, unmade, and unconditioned. See, this is different from conditioned things, right? Conditioned things are born, they produce, just like a clay. It's produced, is made into different things like cups, teapot, vase. Okay, so pot, teapot, cups are conditioned, and the unconditioned the unconditioned clay cup, teapots is the clay, right? So he's saying similarly to everything that is born, produced, and made and conditioned, there is the unborn, unproduced, unmade, and unconditioned. If there were no unborn, unproduced, unmade, and unconditioned, then you would find no escape here from the born, produced, made, and conditioned. Get it? Okay, so the unborn, unconditioned is here right now. It's not like in many religions, you think that God is unborn, uncreated, unmade. Then only when you die, you will be in union with God, then you will see God. No, that's not what the Buddha is saying. The Buddha is saying it's available right here, right now, within the born, the made, the condition. You don't need to wait till you're dead, okay, to find this. But since there is an unborn, unproduced, unmade, and unconditioned, an escape is found from the born, produced, made, and conditioned. So in this very lifetime, you can get in touch with that. And that is the escape. Okay, you don't need to escape to another country. You don't need to become a monastic to escape the born, produced, made. Why? Because monastics have the unborn, unconditioned, unmade within them. So do lay people. Understand? Okay. So let me do one more slide and then I'll end the session. So the Buddha has a reflection after awakening. Okay. Majjhima Nikaya 26. He said, then, understanding Brahma's invitation, I survey the world with the eye of a Buddha because of my compassion for sentient beings. And I saw sentient beings with little dust in their eyes, and some with much dust in their eyes, with keen faculties and weak faculties, with good qualities, with bad qualities, easy to teach and hard to teach. Some of them lived, seeing the danger in the thought to do with the next world, while others did not. So when the Buddha realized full awareness of what he really is, which is called enlightenment, awakening, he didn't want to teach at first because he realized how subtle, how difficult it is to teach this Dharma. You already can hear how difficult it is for me to explain so many difficult slides that I worry you don't even understand, right? So can you imagine how the Buddha would feel? Okay. And during his time, unlike today, there are so many more Buddhist teachers and suttas and books. During his time, he was the only alone one who realized his full truth, right? If you're him, you can really empathize, isn't it? Then he decided Okay. He was persuaded by Brahma's invitation to teach. Okay. He realized that there are sentient beings with little dust in their eyes, meaning what? Meaning they already have spiritual faculties that are almost mature. He can reach out to them. Okay, there are those with much dust in their eyes, meaning those who are not ready. Okay, but not ready doesn't mean they cannot embark on the spiritual path. You just teach them very basic stuff like I shared before, right? Then those with keen faculties, weak faculties, meaning there are those who already have certain wisdom. They can understand deep teachings quite easily. To those who can understand, if you add a bit more, to those who, no matter what you say, they also don't understand, weak faculties. Okay, so the 12 links of origin, of dependent origination, the Buddha didn't have to teach that if somebody understand the Four Noble Truths. But because some people don't understand the Four Noble Truths and karma, so he had to teach the 12 links of dependent origination. That's how the teaching get expanded and expanded. So he's catering to different people of different faculties. Okay? Got it? Right. Those who are easy to teach, those who are very hard to teach. So he's a very skilled teacher. Yeah? Then he exclaimed, "Flung open are the doors to freedom from death. Let those with ears to hear commit to faith." Flung open are the doors to freedom from death. So this is actually the third noble truth. One who realizes what one is, that the Buddha nature is space, nothing to grab on, and space is, no matter how you grab, you cannot grab into it, and space is not nothing, there is something just that you don't know. And you realize that after death, you are willing to dissolve into that space, which is not a personality, but it's also not nothing. Then you have flung open the doors to freedom from death, because death requires the death of a body, material thing, whether it is subtle or gross. Meaning, even if you are in the Deva realms, there are subtle bodies that will die. Okay, so let those with ears to hear commit to faith. Let those with little dust in their eyes, with keen faculties, with the willingness to put in effort to learn, let them open their ears, commit to faith. Why? Because it takes faith for you to be willing to step out of your cocoon of your sixth sense space. Okay, like when the Buddha said, do not cling to the past, do not hunger over the future, stay in the present moment. And if you even doubt this sentence without even trying with the different methods he taught, or all this Dharma he taught, if you're not even willing to try, and when you hear this, your first thing is doubt. Is it true? Then you drag your feet. Then you don't have faith. Then you're not suitable. Then you are really not suitable to listen to even these deep teachings. And then you should just continue with just your usual generosity and rituals until one rebirth in some distant future that you're ready, then you can come upon it. Okay, so that's the end for the session today. It's already 24 minutes, so thank you for listening.